Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello, hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we're back with another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
and it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas is over. I don't like this part. It's like the decorations came down this weekend, and now it just
really?
feels, now it just feels like, well, that's the festive fun over. Now it's just a shitty year to come.
Why are you so pessimistic about this year?
No, I think it's going to be a good year. It's
Yeah,
just, I don't know. I like Christmas time and the feel good factor. I talked about that last show, and no, I mean, it's going to be a good year. There's a lot of football happening this year in BC, all over the lower mainland, North America. We covered a lot of that last week, but
Germany, Scotland.
Germany, Scotland, we'll hear a little bit about Germany, Scotland in this show as well, because we've got our special off-season annual chat with Whitecaps CEO and sporting director Axel Schuster. 37-minute chat. So I'm splitting that up in parts 2 and 3. And then we'll unpack some of what Axel said in part 4. Talk a little bit of MLS and stuff as well. Before we get into all that football chat though, Zach, how has your week been?
Yeah, I mean, better than the last time we talked when I was...
Yes, you look healthier.
Yeah, I was feeling...
Well, you look Weller.
Yeah.
Not Paul Weller. Although you would suit one of those kind of mullets, kind of weird Weller haircuts.
No mullets.
Just
No
mullets for you.
Yeah.
Or Mullers, maybe you'd prefer. But I've been watching the FA Cup this weekend. It's nice that Sportsnet have been showing games on the main channels. I'm not just burying it on Sportsnet World as they do for the first couple of rounds.
Yeah.
The good thing though about the FA Cup now is it's BBC and ITV that's got the rights in the UK, so you can watch it on iPlayer and on ITVX and stuff if you've got your VPNs. But I'm going to take it you didn't watch any of the FA Cup action.
No, I saw some pre-FA Cup reporting. I got sent a clip of the end of one of the fixtures. I think it was the end. Yeah, it must have been the end. But yeah. You saw the story, right? The one article I got sent?
I don't know. I've watched the games, so
With what they were trying to do at the Stadium of Light.
well, I watched the stadium. Well, I watched the
Did you not hear?
Sunderland Newcastle game. No,
Did you... So there
as
was.
soon as the third Newcastle goal went in, I just turned it off. What have I missed?
Oh, that's maybe that's maybe the goal I got sent. Was that a penalty?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's the one I saw. Yeah.
Is this the card tifo at the start you're talking about?
No, I haven't
No.
even seen that. No,
It
dude,
went really well. It said we're side and
Yeah, okay, but earlier in the week, dude, there's this whole story that broke that there's 6,000 traveling fans, and I think 600 to 700 of them had paid like £600 a person to have like box seats, like suites. And and someone within the Sunderland organization, in maybe an attempt to supposedly avoid vandalism or whatever, redecorated the suites in black and white with banners like "We are united." And like,
What?
yeah, and when this got out, the Sunderland faithful went mental, as you can understand.
I can very much understand that. Oh my.
So
That's
I
a
think
PR faux pas.
nightmare. I think it got changed in time before the match, but it was all out there. There's like images of like the painting, images of like some of the signs, and
Wow. That. Wow. I can't believe I missed that. I was looking forward to the game, and it was a bit disappointing.
It's the first time they played in like 6-7 years or something, right?
Yeah, it's like one of my best friends in Scotland, Stevie's a Sunderland fan. Me and him actually did a tour of the Stadium of Light when East Fife were down in that area playing some pre-season tournaments. Nice. And we went and had a tour. It was fantastic. And my old boss, when I worked in the bank, was a big Sunderland fan. Actually, I did an East Fife fanzine. I also did a music fanzine. I did a Sergeant Bilko fanzine. But I thought it would be fun for my work to do a work fanzine where I took the piss out of my
employers.
Yeah, well, employers, bosses, co-workers, yeah, everything.
Classic.
So, like, my boss Colin was a big Sunderland fan from Consett, like John Herdman.
Yep.
And folk always mistook him for a Geordie, which he hated, and he's like, "No, I'm a Mackem." So I did a cartoon strip in the fanzine. Now this fanzine, I'll say, ran for like 4 or 5 issues before the HR complaint, and I had a cartoon strip called Geordie Wanker, and it was all about him. And every time folk would call him a Geordie Wanker for stuff that he's done, and he'd go, "No, I'm a Mackem actually." So, yeah. Although it did state in the cartoon that it bore no resemblance to anyone alive or dead. So me saying it was Colin is not actually the case. I also had a cartoon strip in it, Slimy Stan, the Dunfermline fan, about this sleazy guy that I worked with that just hitting all the female cashiers and tellers and stuff.
Oh, my.
But again, no similarity to any actual person. Even though he had an affair with one of the girls and his wife kicked him out. But anyway, that's a total aside. But it was great to see the Sunderland Newcastle game in that they both wore their proper kits. They wore the red and white stripes and the black and white stripes. Yes, it was a bit of a nightmare for TV. Not as much maybe as Arsenal wearing their white jerseys with white numbers as part of the anti-knife crime campaign, which is about no red, so their strip has no red on it.
Oh, that's awkward.
Except the FA Cup logo on their sleeve that was red.
Yeah. That's, yeah. I mean, it obviously sounds like a good cause.
I mean, it's a great campaign. It's a great cause. And, yeah, it wasn't great for trying to work out who the players were. But the big story from the FA Cup is 6th tier. Maidstone United are through to the 4th round draw. They beat League One side Stevenage.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Talking about cup football as well, we mentioned on the show just the excitement of the draw that saw US Revel drawn at home to play PSG in the French Cup.
Right.
So I don't know, have you seen the French Cup results this weekend?
No.
Well, that game was played today. And I don't know that Revel are going to be revelling in the 9-0 defeat by PSG.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, who cares, right? Like, it's
I know, that was a 6th tier team as well, taking on PSG. Not the biggest defeat, though, this weekend in the French Cup. Because I don't know if you heard the story about Gauld and Lion.
Are they fans of Goldie Looking Chain?
Oh, no, but they should be. Gauld and Lion are the champions of Martinique, and as such they get to play in the French Cup. So they were drawn away to Lille, and they managed a shot. which was good. It wasn't on target, but at least they managed a shot. Unfortunately, Lille managed 36 shots, 22 of them on target, and 12 of which ended up in the back of the net. It was a 12-0 victory to Lille.
Wow.
Jonathan David hit a hat-trick.
Yeah, I heard he scored a bunch.
Yeah.
This weekend.
12-0 win. You would take that any day of the week, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, love our cup football. The draw for the Canadian Championship should be getting made by the end of this month, so that should be pretty exciting as well.
Yeah, they're going to do another draw like I enjoyed that last year's on TV.
Yeah, I hope so.
It was on One Soccer. It was awesome.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, are the Highlanders going to be at home? Do they want to host and everything like that? Obviously, sad still that TSS aren't in it, but yeah, looking forward to that. But it's going to be a good year. And despite my pessimistic thing at the start, I think it's going to be a good year for football. Good year for AFTN as well.
Hopefully they don't bring in like Josh Hurd or Meyer Bevan to the draw, because they might trip and fall and knock the bins over. That
would be embarrassing. You can get Rod Stewart in. That was still a fantastic draw. But yeah, we've got big plans for 2024 as well. We're going to celebrate the Whitecaps' 50th anniversary in a lot of ways and a lot of style. Our Artist of the Month has gone. It's now replaced by Album of the Month, and we'll be kicking that off at the start of part 3. We're waiting to see what's happening with the new League One BC Commissioner, or League One Canada Commissioner, I should say, because we've got some plans to pitch to them about some things we would like to do to help grow League One BC. And I'm hoping to start a new podcast this year. That will be on this feed, but it will be an additional once-a-month podcast I hope to go for. We're going to launch, Zach, the AFTN Book Club.
Sweet.
And it's going to take a variety of different things. So we're going to speak to some authors. We're going to speak to just some favourite people that's maybe done autobiographies and talk about their stuff as well. We'll maybe do some more of our serializations. I enjoy doing those a couple of times on the podcast as well. And we'll also, not every month, but we'll pick a book and we'll give people at home the chance to pick the book up and read it over the month. And then if anyone wants to be part of the book club, if you're a voracious reader and you want to be in the book club, please get in touch. Because I know, Zach, you're super busy. You might not have a chance to get some books done. I have actually ordered a book for you, though, as part of the book club. It's one I've been trying to get hold of for ages. I saw it in a UK second-hand bookshop, so I ordered us 2 copies. So once that arrives, that can be the first one that we can do. But yeah, if anyone out there is interested in being part of the book club,
are we going to do Who Ate All the Squid?
Yeah, well, that's another one I thought we could do as well.
Totally.
So big plans for AFTN, and of course the Whitecaps are going to have big plans because, Zach, we're going back in time this year. We're going to party like it's 1974, and of course you know what that means. We're going to dig out the flares. We're going to have to wear tight-fitting...
What kind of flares are we talking about?
Well, you can dig out both kinds, but the trouser varieties was more what I was meaning. So we'll dig them out. We're going to have to wear some really tight-fitting turtlenecks and sweaters. That was the men's fashion of the day. Caitlin is going to get in the act as well. She just doesn't know it yet. I've thrown a lot of her clothes out and I've replaced them with brown polyester. I've also hidden her lady shave as well, so she's going to be going au naturel as if we're back in 1974. That'll be a nice surprise for her. We'll wallpaper the houses. We'll come around and wallpaper your house with nice brown and yellow wallpaper with circles on it. We're just going to celebrate 1974, celebrate the Whitecaps' 50th anniversary. It was a year that fashion kind of forgot. It wasn't really the best year. We can dress like the Fawns, though, because Happy Days first started in 1974. Hey, get those leather jackets out. And the Whitecaps, of course, played their first season that year. The first match was on May 5th, 1974. So over the course of the year on the podcast and the website, we'll have a lot of celebrations. But just to give you a little taster with this first show of the year, we'll take you back to 1974. And I've said before, Zach, it'd be fun to have. It was an Acceptable in the 70s podcast. Might get us cancelled, but...
Yeah, let's not do that.
It was an interesting year for music, for films, for culture, for politics. Football-wise, West Germany beat Holland to win the World Cup.
And all the world rejoiced.
I mean, it was a good year, actually, for you in 1974. So, I mean, where were you? We're recording this Sunday, January 7th. Where were you 50 years ago?
Yeah, I was not born.
What?
Yeah.
I was 5.
Yeah, you're like a decade older than me.
I was in primary school. I might be doing a lot of the heavy lifting there in this section. But it was a good year for you, 1974, because Germany, as I mentioned, won the World Cup. Also, Bayern won the Bundesliga by a point from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And they also won their first European Cup in 1974.
For real?
Beating Atletico Madrid in a replay. And they could have been playing Celtic because Atletico Madrid had actually beat Celtic over 2 legs in the semi-final. In North American football, the newly formed LA Aztecs, who came into the league just as the Whitecaps did, they had a much better season, though, than the Whitecaps. They beat Miami Toros on penalties to win the NASL Championship 50 years ago. Leeds United won the English First Division title, and that was the 73-74 season. Don Revie was the manager. He then left to take on England, and then Brian Clough took over in July 1974 and in charge for 44 days. And the basis for the Damned United film. Which, have you seen that film?
I don't, you know what? I don't think I've ever watched it.
Oh, right. We will have to do a TVOD then on that film. We'll do that in the summer. I'll get you to watch that.
I also put off, and I never watched, because I thought we were going to watch it and talk about, what was that? It was a series, I think it was Netflix, The English Game?
Oh, yes.
Did you watch it? I
No.
never watched it. I put it off.
No, I have it to watch. I watched the first episode, really liked it, thought I'll get back to it when we're going to talk about it, and then I haven't revisited it. But we'll definitely do the Damned United. And the Damned United, people involved at the time said the book's a little bit flight of fancy, but as a standalone film, it's hugely entertaining.
I believe I have 2 copies of Clough's autobiography.
I have, well, there's been autobiographies, there's been biographies. I actually have, I think it's autobiography as well.
I think I have 2 copies of the same one. I should check and see if we both have the same one.
Yeah, I'll dig that out.
Mine's in my office.
And let you know. Obviously, everyone's wondering what happened to East Fife in 1974.
Oh, they're on the edge of their seats.
Relegation. Yep. The end of the 73-74 season, East Fife were relegated from the top flight in Scottish football, never to return.
Okay, so just for everyone keeping score at home, that's German World Bayern Champions League and domestic champions. East Fife relegation.
Thanks for the sympathy. But I'm still celebrating the year. We got relegated in goal difference as well by 3 goals, and we've never been back in the top flight since. So that was tough. Culture-wise, films. The Towering Inferno was the highest grossing film in the US, and very apt to think that 50 years later, TFC are like the Towering Inferno of MLS.
Is Bernadeschi gone yet?
No.
Not yet, right?
No, we'll talk about TFC in a little bit because it's been an interesting off-season so far. Have you seen the Towering Inferno?
No, I don't believe I have.
Oh, it was 74 was a year of disaster films because Earthquake was a big one as well. Other classic films released in 1974, and I've dug some of them out here. One of my all-time favourite comedies, Blazing Saddles. Okay. That's got the 30th anniversary DVD. Well, I'm a huge Gene Wilder fan and also a huge Mel Brooks fan, but Gene Wilder in particular is one of my all-time favourite actors. And interestingly, Blazing Saddle, well, Towering Inferno was the number 1 film of the year, Blazing Saddles was number 2, and number 3 was another Gene Wilder film, Young Frankenstein, which is another fantastic film. Other films in 1974, Godfather Part 2.
Part 2, yeah.
Death Wish, the soft porn classic Emmanuel. Sure you've seen that. Very similar, Disney's Herbie Rides Again. Don't be confused by the title, it's not a soft porn film. The James Bond film that year was The Man with the Golden Gun.
I've seen that.
It was the original Murder of the Orient Express. And one of the best horror films released that year, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So weird, man.
I
been
have
remakes
this.
of that.
I've got this
VHS.
on.
VHS.
Yeah.
Or is that Betamax?
No, it's an American VHS because it was banned in the UK for so many years that when I came over here in 1994 on holiday, I picked up
World
this and Clockwork Orange, 2 banned films. So we could
That's
watch
banned
them.
because of the gory violence?
Yeah. For anyone, I mean, I'm sure folk know about Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. For 5 young friends, a typical summer afternoon drive becomes a terrifying nightmare. This is the all-new restored version, uncut and unedited. So if you want, we can have a viewing party for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No, yeah, no.
Invite the kids round. It's an education.
No.
TV-wise?
I don't think I've seen the original. I think I've seen like a couple clips from like the remake in the 90s or 2000s. Or
It is a classic horror film.
it's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of those videos. Maybe explains a lot, as does a lot of the childhood TV that I watched growing up, which we've talked about in the show before. Tis Was, which was a famous show of mine. It started in 1974.
Wait, are these all shows that are like canceled because the people who made them are in prison for
No.
doing bad things?
That's just mostly the music and stuff. But one of my other favourite kids' TV shows, Bag Puss. Dear Bag Puss. Dear Fat Furry Cat Puss. I kid you not, before we started recording, Zach's just like shaking his head in disbelief here. Look, there's a picture of Bag Puss.
That's a cat?
Yeah, he's a Bag Puss.
Sorry, it's a bit of glare there. I can't.
Oh yeah, see, this is the complete Bag Puss DVD. I've watched it regularly. I was trying to find Caitlin's Bag Puss to show you, but I can't find it. I've seen it in the bedroom, but I don't know where her Bag Puss is right now.
Oh my.
But anyway, that was the first year in 1974. Happy Days, as we mentioned. Hong Kong Phooey. Remember Hong Kong Phooey?
I do not.
Number
Happy
one
Days-
super
Happy Days-
guy.
Happy Days are recalled.
Little House on the Prairie.
I remember that one.
Yeah, that's more up your street. That was 1974 as well. The Rockford Files.
I know that show, but I don't think I know the name, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
It was also like the UK at that time. That was right in the peak of the UK sitcom, the classic sitcoms. Many of them, when you sit down now, like Love Thy Neighbour, On the Buses, and Sickness and in Health, you can't really broadcast them now because they would be cancelled. So we can have a marathon of those as well.
No.
For the rest of this part, we are actually going to talk football, you'll be glad to know. And we're going to look a bit at Major League Soccer. Not Whitecaps, because we're focusing on that in the next 3 parts. But it's been a very busy MLS off-season so far. There's been some eye-opening moves, both good and of the what-the-fuck variety. And we're not going to delve into every team, because we want this to try and be a 2-hour podcast. Cut it down an hour, give everyone a break, especially me in the editing capacity. But I want to look at some of the things that's affected the Canadian team so far, or Canadian players, and maybe just anything Western Conference is particularly of interest. And then we'll go team by team as we get closer to the season in the West. But let's start with the 2 Eastern Canadian teams and CF Montreal. Now, No new coach officially announced yet, Zach, but The Athletic reported on Thursday that current Columbus Crew 2, I knew I was going to butcher that, head coach Laurent Courtois has got the job and is going to get announced this week. Now, Courtois won the 2022 MLS Next Pro Championship with Crew 2. He's also been an assistant in MLS with LA Galaxy. He played in MLS as well with Chivas and the Galaxy. Fun fact, he made his Galaxy debut against the Whitecaps in July 2013. He's 45 years old, born in Lyon in France, has played for some French teams, so that will give gravitas perhaps to him to those in Montreal that like the connection with France. Also played very briefly in the Premier League in England with West Ham. Only, I think, 7 games. He struggled a bit there. But it's an interesting appointment. I'm disappointed it's not Palmadou Ka who was rumoured for the job, but he's done really well with Columbus. And if they can't have Wilfried Nancy, let's get Laurent Courtois there instead.
Yeah, I saw this news the other day and I was like, that feels a little bit underwhelming, but I think fits Joey Saputo's. It's not up until this point, it's not that dissimilar to Vancouver, the Whitecaps approach, right? Like
I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah, a young up and coming coach who's done some stuff and has a high ceiling or a potential high ceiling. Because the way things are in Montreal, or the way things we know they have been in Montreal, both reported and off the record, you can't bring in someone who's too strong or who's gonna want things their way too much, because
that was immediately when Pa was linked with the job. I was like, oh, that's a clash waiting to happen.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm not saying he's got good pedigree, especially with young players, as shown with Crew 2.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is a bad sign. This might actually work out really well for them, or it might even work out really well for them in the short term, and then like Nancy moves on, and they, they're on the lookout. They're on the lookout again. But
wouldn't it be ironic if Nancy moves on and then Courtois moves to Columbus as well?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you could see that totally happening.
He did so well in 2022, bringing through a lot of the young Crew guys that have then made the breakthrough now to that team that just lifted the MLS Cup. So I think it's an exciting appointment for them. And obviously being French perfectly fits in with the culture and everything. I mean, if you're a Montreal fan, though, you want stability. This is their 10th MLS coach in 13 MLS seasons.
Yeah, again, that's not an accident. That's not for no reason.
No, and including this upcoming one, it'll be their 6th in 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Now, that is just not sustainable.
Yeah. So I think there might be cautious optimism amongst the Montreal supporters, but
I didn't get a chance to listen to the Ballers Round that they did tonight to see.
Is Camacho coming with them?
I'm sure he could be welcome back, maybe assistant coach. But yeah, I'll listen to what the Ballers Round said, and can I get that? We're going to get Eve on the show before the season starts anyway, so I had been thinking this week when we're just planning the show and stuff, and I thought, we'll talk about TFC in Montreal, and I was like, man, they need to get a coach in place like ASAP. And I mean, it's still not official.
Right. Yeah.
But it's reported basically that it's a done deal from the way the Athletic reported it. But they need to get him in. Just get that rebuilding work started. Because they've only added 2 players so far this off-season. I know the Whitecaps have only added 1 outside the draft picks in Kreilach. But we've got a much better base to build off than Montreal.
Less people going out, yeah.
So they've added Raheem Edwards from the Galaxy and Ruan from DC United. So
yeah, Kirk was the one who let me know about Raheem Edwards. He's like, hey, did you hear? I was like, no. He's like, Raheem Edwards down from the Galaxy to Montreal. I was like, oh.
He was always a player that when he was available in like end of season drafts and stuff, we talked about, oh, could he be a
Yeah.
fit here for the Whitecaps or whatever? But I think he'll do well there. And Ruan, I don't know too much about. I haven't really watched a lot of DC United games off late, but they need to get some more players in, and because it's an early start to the season, Courtois needs to get in there and get up and running. But if Montreal have work to do, I feel that's nothing compared with the work that TFC and John Herdman has ahead of them. Because aside from their first round draft pick, Tyrese Spicer, number 1 overall in the draft, they have not made any new signings.
Yeah, you wonder how Herdman's going about this and what's all going on behind the scenes, because we know that having access to funds to improve the squad is typically not an issue for Toronto, even when they're maybe in the midst of
Trying to
having
get
some
some of
large,
those big
having
things off the books.
having some of those large contracts hanging over them. That's hasn't stopped them in the past. So it is kind of interesting to see what might happen, or how that's going to all play out there.
Well,
I'm not at this moment. I don't. I'm sure Toronto people are concerned or frustrated or whatever, but
oh, they are. It's like not a
it's
day
gonna
goes
take a little
by
bit of
without
time, though.
I see one TFC fan saying, "Are we making any signings? Make a signing."
Yeah, but
But they've got a problem. I know we only briefly touched on this at the end of the season, but they had a shit 2023. So you want a clear out, but then they announced their roster moves, and 8 players moved on, and they had 19 players on guaranteed contracts for 2024
yeah,
from a team that did not perform.
exactly.
And you've got 2 big Italian contracts that's
Anchors
just
holding your whole
anchors
squad down.
around. That's
Yeah.
the word I was looking for when I was trying to think of this. Anchors around their necks,
Yeah,
with cement blocks on the bottom, I think, to pull them down even more. Now, they might get a new lease of life and be fantastic for them because they are both obviously quality players.
but it doesn't seem like that, right? I mean, Bernadeschi in his off season, which is it's totally fine, go home, hang out. But he's been hanging out at the Juventus training ground and making statements like, "Oh yeah, I would like to be back here in
Yeah.
January."
Well, I mean, who wouldn't? It's like the choice of those 2 teams and leagues. But I mean, TFC were linked with a player coming back to MLS from Europe this week. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw.
I mean, I was always hoping he was going to go to Dallas, but it looks like Debbie does Toronto instead, if the rumours are true. Debbie Flores, former Whitecap, 27 years old now, and during international, could be coming to TFC.
Yeah,
Now, he wasn't
could
great
be-
here,
it could. Well, but yeah, that was a
but
different.
I've watched him subsequently in CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah, and
I
watch him
haven't
in
followed him
national.
over in
watch him for
Hungary or
Honduras.
whatever, but yeah, in Honduras as well. And he seems to have come on to being a bit of a player.
Yeah,
But a DM, a guy that's 27, not a huge name. I'm not quite sure that's the kind of first signing the fans were hoping for, but I think he could certainly do a job for TFC.
I agree. I think he could be a good second choice in center midfield or a depth choice in center midfield for them, depending on what those other options are. Again,
I'd imagine that will mean, because we kind of thought, oh, maybe Robbo's going to come in as an assistant at TFC,
no.
although he is available now. But him and Debbie
Yes.
Flores had a few issues. in
Did
his
they?
time here.
I'm forgetting that part.
Yeah,
He was the one who brought Davey in.
yeah. There was just stuff happened, and
Okay.
yeah. But talking off assistants, TFC do have their big move this year.
Yeah.
We mentioned it in the last show that we'd heard the murmurs, and it was confirmed. Jason DeVos, he was the interim General Secretary at Canada Soccer, but he is now assistant to John Herdman at TFC, and not a surprise move. John likes to have people around him that he knows and trusts.
Yeah. And I mean, for Divas, he goes from his interim position at the CSA, where you're not making great money, to TFC where you're going to make respectable money. And for him, I'm guessing there's probably some considerable amount of joy of being on the pitch every day and
Yeah.
kind of back in the grind, back in the flow, back amongst the lads, as they might say over in
I'm
Scotland.
sure he really misses that. I'd like to probably speak to Jason. I'd put feelers out through a mutual friend to try and get Jason on the show. But then because he was stepping down, I guess that was maybe why he didn't want to come and chat about Canada soccer stuff. But we'd
Yeah.
love to just chat to him just about Canadian football in general and his new role. But that will certainly be an interesting one. And both those teams certainly need to pick it up a little bit if they want to be competitive in what's going to be a very tough Eastern Conference next year with some of the other additions that's been made. But we'll focus a little bit on the West now. Just some Canadian interest, really. So LAFC, 14 players moved on
Yeah.
from LAFC. And the only one that's come in is 37-year-old former Tottenham keeper joining from Tottenham and the former World Cup winner, Hugo Lloris.
Or Hugo Lloris.
Well, see, I always pronounce him Lloris, but then I saw something this week that pronounced him as Lloris, and I was like, have I just been murdering his name this whole time? I don't know.
Je ne sais
Hugo
pas.
anyway. Will he be the boss? That's what we want to know. But 361 appearances for Spurs, 145 for France. He's a great keeper. He's an old keeper. I'm assuming he's coming in to be the number one. But as soon as that rumour came out, everyone was like, well, free agent Maxime Crepeau is clearly not coming back to LAFC because I don't see either him or Lloris playing second fiddle to the other. So we kind of knew he was moving on. And again, this has not been confirmed as definite, but I would expect it maybe even by the time folk are listening to this. Maxime Crepeau has thought, you know what, I've annoyed the Whitecaps fans when they've played LAFC. What could really get under their skin next? I'll join a Cascadian rival. He's heading to Portland. He can talk the fan base up there again.
It would be different if it was Seattle, but yeah.
Well, Greg Petrie asked about that. He wanted me to mention to you, if you refuse to refer to a former Sounders player who joined the Whitecaps as anything besides the Colombian, then I hope that you're not going to go soft on a former Whitecaps player going to the Timbers just because he's a Canadian national team player.
Yeah, well,
I guess,
I mean,
are
there's
you going to call
multiple
him the Canadian?
there's multiple variables in that equation, right?
Yeah,
Like,
also you can't just refer to him as the Canadian because of other business that Portland have done this week, which we'll come to in a sec.
yeah,
But
no, I mean,
back to Crepeau.
when Crepeau came here, Crepeau's a kid who was, supporting the impact with the ultras as a kid, right? Like
Yeah.
he came here. I mean, I mean, if you were gonna say anything, it would be about when he came here, calling him something, but not when he went to LAC or now to Portland. I don't really care. Plus, obviously my emotional engagement is quite different than it was when the Colombian came here.
Yes.
Where
But
in terms of
what I would
care
say,
about, but
to play devil's advocate, I think it's a good move for him. He's going to a good club in a great city with a great fan base. And from a Canadian national team point of view, you're wanting him to be playing well and having a strong season.
and the Pantemis is there too, right?
Yeah, that's the other weird thing about this. So James Pantemis joined this week, and now it's going to mention that Max is coming as well. So they're going to have two Canadian keepers that probably, but not impossibly, won't be away with the Canadian national team at the same time. But it is something that could happen depending on injuries and availability. So Portland could have two of their keepers away with Canada on international duty at the same time. But what must Pantemis be feeling like? He's like, oh, I'm moving to Portland. I'll have a battle for the number one. Oh, here comes Max again. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. It would be nice to be able, whether we can talk about it on the show or not, it would be nice to understand really what the heck has gone on here, right?
Yeah.
Like this whole supposedly wanting to go to Europe, to balancing that with needing to play every game to, I guess, some would say win, or others maybe say maintain the number one spot for Canada. Less than 2 years, or just over 2 years out from a World Cup, is significant in all this, I imagine. But it's yeah, like he hasn't made a move up a level, that's for sure. And so it's a little bit there. Yeah, I would love to know why this has happened in this way, and how it's all come
Yeah,
out, and what were his options, or what's his thing. Because to me, I know like Greg or other people, it's like, oh, he's going to Portland for the money. He couldn't get enough money in Europe, so he's going to Portland or whatever. I don't think this is only about money. I'm sure money plays a role in it for sure, but I would love to know like what the options were, or what his plan was, and how this all came about, because it sounds like LAFC only brought in Hugo because they were like, okay, Max is gone and we need to replace him. And I think they haven't
and
done a
they've
great
probably
job.
bought him. Like Crepeau, I think was on 350 off the top of my head at LAFC last
Yeah.
year. So they've probably got Hugo coming in at that. And I mean, the rumours were that they weren't prepared to pay the extra money to give Crepeau a big bump in the contract that he was looking for, which does in part go down to this thing that we've talked about a lot over the years, that goalkeepers just are not a valued commodity in MLS.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also partly understand why.
Which is crazy because Max Crepeau got you to two MLS Cup finals in a row.
Yeah,
And he played a significant role in both of those runs.
yeah,
I know Greg wrote you about other stuff about his role in the final, the first final, whatever. But like that's a sour grapes from a Whitecaps fan. That's whatever.
yeah,
But ultimately, yeah, why not pay him another 150 a year? Obviously, I mean, there's something that's their salary, budget cap, whatever issues. But to me, I don't know if you're LAFC and from Thorrington and those guys and what's the name, Trundle, it seems kind of weird. Unless they're
yeah.
like, unless they have like concerns about the longevity of, his leg, coming off that break. Maybe
Well, I mean,
they
he
feel
he
like,
told me when he was here that he's totally fine and there's no issues with it. Like we've spoken to him obviously a lot over the years, and he's always made it clear that he wanted to go to Europe. That's his
yeah.
dream. He wants to play in
So
Europe,
I wonder if something just fell apart, or
or if maybe it was an offer he just couldn't resist.
or the Portland one.
Mm.
No,
Until the salaries
something
come out, we don't know. But
something must have fallen apart. There must be some kind of like he had a thing, and it was like at the end it was like, oh yeah, but you're not guaranteed number one. And he's like,
possibly,
no, I
yeah,
I
because
have to
this
play.
is now a crucial part of his career
Yeah,
because
he
he
can't he
should be the
can't
number
go
one.
he can't go somewhere to fight for number one, or go somewhere to even just like come in at the same time as another keeper to battle for number one. Like he needs to be number one.
Yeah,
And
because
also maybe for him, maybe it's also simply about, or maybe one of the factors in all this is the difference in the schedules, right? So to go somewhere, um to go somewhere now where he's not had maybe the break his body's used to, and whatever, and his recovery and whatever, and then again going into a middle of a season, maybe that's one of the reasons, right? And then he doesn't want to wait. He's not going to sit around until July. That's not an option for him, right? So maybe it was like, no, I need to stay in ML. I don't know. There's got to be some kind of
yeah, I mean,
logical, reasoning behind all this, and hopefully one day we know, and it'd be even nicer if we could talk about it on the
yeah.
show.
Well,
But
yeah, Greg said he doesn't begrudge, like Greg Petrie, that this was just a message that we got from him about this, which I thought was worth chatting about, because he doesn't begrudge a player taking the money because their careers are short and you've got to fight for it. But he felt it was a lack of ambition in his part, staying in MLS and not going to Europe. But as you say, we just don't know. There might have been something that fell through, and then Portland's come in with a good offer. And it's like, well, Pacific Northwest, it's a lovely part of the world. Let's just stay here.
and Greg, I know Greg talking about ambition there too. Well, the dude has won an MLS Cup, right? Like he has an MLS Cup ring,
Yeah.
right? So maybe his priorities have changed a little bit. He's like, okay, I've done that at one of the best teams, the most well-resourced teams in the league. Now he wants to challenge to go somewhere where it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Well, he's going to be the 4th edition from the Timbers this off-season, and the 3rd Canadian in those 4, which is, I'm not sure what Phil Neville's up to there. I don't know if he thinks he's in the wrong country or if,
I forgot it was Phil.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's going to hamper everything that Phil Neville's the head coach. So you can stack that team, but you've still got Phil Neville as your head coach. But James Pantemis, as we talked about, but the other one's a huge one, Kamal Miller, who, if Kamal Miller was available, I'd have loved him here. But you kind of feel for him. He's gone to Orlando. He's had the chance to play with Messi. At least he's played with Messi. He could have gone to Europe, but he's committed himself to staying here, and then they trade him to Portland. Yeah, he seems happy about the move anyway, but he has to say that.
That move to Miami and then re-signing with Miami, I think Glass City or someone online was like, oh, that's a bait and switch, right? Are you signing?
Yeah, he retweeted Fabian's tweet, which basically was just echoing what I was saying. Yeah, he's such a good player, but again, he's had a good landing spot, and it's going to be interesting to see how Portland do this year for sure. A team in the West that we won't break down right now that have had a very impressive off-season so far are the Colorado Rapids, who are making some big moves out there. But they do have Chris Armas as their head coach. So again, it's like Portland, it's like eeksy-peeksy there. But we'll get into analysing all those teams, as I say, closer to the season. The only other move I want to mention is on the East, which I don't know if you saw. I missed it initially, and I just saw it today. Ladero has signed with Orlando.
Well, I knew he was done in Seattle. I'd seen all the hoopla about that, like the farewells and whatever. I didn't, honestly, when I saw that, I was like, okay, he's going to move on from MLS.
Yeah, that's a great pickup by Orlando.
I mean, he is older and whatever, but it seems like a very Orlando kind of signing, right? Like a South American attacking player with a lot of
Pereira's going to get good stuff out of him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
He's down there with Poppy. Yeah, that.
And obviously they're fighting for the Floridian pride as well. So Orlando's a fun team to watch. Oscar Pereira's teams are a fun team to watch. If we're looking for a new head coach here, he's a guy I'd be on the phone to right away to see if he wants to come in. But that is it for our MLS chat. We're going to be turning our attentions now to the Whitecaps over the next 3 parts. And we are going to sit down for a chat with Axel Schuster and also kick off our songs from 1974. We'll be doing it all year long. What's going to kick things off? Find out after this.
Hey, I am Axel Schuster, and I'm listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. If I could make days last forever, if words could make wishes come true, I'd save every day like a treasure, and then again I would spend them with you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. I've looked around enough to know you're the one I want to go through time with. If I had a box just for wishes and dreams that had never come true, the box would be empty except for the memory of how they were answered by you.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part we're kicking off our songs to celebrate 1974, the Whitecaps' first season as a football team on the pitch. But as we've talked about, we are going to be celebrating all things 1974 all year long. On the AFTN Soccer Show, we're going to be playing a variety of songs along the way, and we're kicking it off with a song there that was number one, the first number one in 1974, American folk singer Jim Croce with his song Time in a Bottle, taken from his album You Don't Mess Around with Jim. Now, the song was originally released in November. It held the number one single spot for the first 2 weeks in 1974, kicking the year off. And it's a sad story about Jim Croce. I've heard the song. When I look to see, I've been looking at RPM Weekly, the Canadian music magazine that was around for a number of years, and it's got the number one songs, it's got the charts for every single year, every week. And I wanted to kick off our songs with the song that was number one in Canada in 1974, and I saw that it was Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce, and I was like, I don't know that song, I don't know the artist either. Then I listened to the song and it's like, oh, I do know that song. Can't for the life of me place how I know that song. I thought I'd heard it in Trigger Happy TV, the Channel 4 TV show. Haven't found it in the list of songs that I've looked at that was featured in the show, so I've definitely heard it somewhere. I played it, Caitlin had heard the song as well. It was number one in the US, it was number one in Canada, didn't seem to chart in the UK from what I could find. But Jim Croce was an American folk singer that sadly passed away just aged 30. From Philadelphia, but died in a plane crash in Louisiana in September 20th, 1973. Himself and 5 other people perishing when a plane that he was on crashed during takeoff on the way to a concert. So a sad, sad tale. Keeping it light to kick off our 1974 celebrations. We've got a lot more to come. The number one album in Canada, incidentally, this week was the Steve Miller Band and their album The Joker, which of course has that self-titled song that I'm sure many of you will know. Over in the UK, we were still celebrating Christmas. The number one single this week in the UK in 1974 was Slade and Merry Christmas, everyone, which of course is such an iconic Christmas tune. The number one album in the UK this week back in 1974 was prog rock band Yes and their Tales from the Topographic Oceans. Movie-wise, the number one film in the US and Canada in its second week of release, The Exorcist, that infamous horror movie, scares the bejesus out of people even to this very day. Film that was to stay at number one in the US box office for 12 weeks in total. The number one movie in the UK this week 50 years ago, the Dirty Harry film, Magnum Force, starring Clint Eastwood. Loved the Dirty Harry series when I was growing up as a kid. Going to be a fun year. We've got a lot of fun movies to talk about, and we'll have another great song from 1974 in next week's show. But as much as I would like you to be here for our chat from 50 years ago, you're here for the football chat, and we're going to bring you this episode's feature interview now as we sit down with Whitecaps CEO and sporting director Axel Schuster for our annual end of season / beginning of year chat, the state of the Whitecaps, how they're looking going into 2024, what were the positives and negatives that you can take out of last year, how's the recruitment going. We're going to talk about all of that and a lot more. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, sit down and enjoy our chat with Axel S. How are you? Do you have a nice New Year and Christmas?
Yeah, Happy New Year. Actually, yes, I had. It's always busy going home once in a year for two weeks. Everyone wants to see you. You want to get so many things done, and then your schedule is really packed. But was good. Was quite good.
But I don't want to look back really on 2023. It's in the past. It's like we're moving forward. We're in the new year. But kind of coming out of 2023 then, what were you most pleased with? What were you most disappointed with from last year?
Good question. I was most pleased with the whole. I would say, is it atmosphere? Is it culture? Is it energy that we had in our group the whole year? We had not one blow up. We have played so many games. We have been on the road for such a long time. We had such a crazy schedule. We had so many hurdles to jump over. We had never a blow up. No one really never freaked out. No one really got shitty. No one ever has misbehaved. No one ever has given up in training. We had amazing exit interviews with players that haven't played a lot, and they said that the one thing that was outstanding for them was how they got treated, also from the other players. So I'm most proud of that we have managed this year so well as a group, that we have protected our group, and that we have taken care about those who maybe haven't felt that well or haven't played that much. And then as a return to that, they have pushed the group and have also helped with good energy in the group. I think that's also the main driver for our success. Disappointment. There's one thing that stands out for me, and it's a recurring story now 2 years in a row, and we have spoken about that a lot, and I hope we have addressed it in the right way. Is our slow start into the last two seasons, and it's actually even 2 years ago it was really bad, and last year it still was result-wise bad. If you compare to what we have played then in the season, or what our what kind of results we have got in average in the season. Although I know that our first game against Salt Lake was really, really good, and we should have won it, but it's also a fact that we haven't won it, and it's a fact that we haven't got that. I think in the first 5 games, it was the worst 5 games of the season, point-wise. So it's something we clearly have addressed. Also in the preseason, the Champions League maybe helps us, or probably helps us with that, having 2 competition games already very early in the Champions League. And to be better prepared, and I hope more ready for the MLS season. But yeah, that's the one thing that really has disappointed me, because I think we have made a playoff at the end, and not only that we could have finished fourth. Let's say we win, we get a few more points of it, and we are fourth. We are maybe even third, second. We're not first, but also the whole atmosphere that we would have had in town if you would have started well. So imagine we win this Salt Lake game, and we win. We get a point in San Jose, and we win another game then, and you would start with being in the top 4. That's also important, and for that reason, even more important for me now again next season, because we have finished the season in front of 30,000 people. The vibe even after the game, although we lost, was still good. People were speaking positively about the club. People have some belief that we are trending in the right direction. Now it is up to us to prove that right at the beginning of next season, and not again at the end of the season. So because then otherwise we have to go through it again and have to convince the people again, and people will go away and say, oh, this season is not that good, and then only at the end, in the last third of the season, they find out that we are good. So we have to continue where we have ended last year.
I mean, it's all about taking the next step, and I mean that's what every club's looking to do: improve on the season before, take that next step. I think we all know that the next step for the club is to win a playoff series, go deeper in the playoffs. I mean, what other next steps? What does the next step look like to you, just aside from just winning a playoff series?
Yeah, look, I have to look at it from two sides. The next step could also be just to prove again what we have done last season, to finish again in the position where we are, because I would say going into the playoffs twice and having a performance like we had last year, I think could also be a next step, could be consistency, what also would be a good next step. But this is not how you go into the season. That's now one side of the story, that how I look at things. I would not say now that the next step could only be finishing higher or winning a playoff series or whatever. A next step can also proving the level that we have shown last year, or proving that the performance that we have shown last year is our basic performance, that we can show that consistently over more than a season. But other than that, obviously, we would like to finish top four. We thought we have been very close. We could have finished top four this year already. That would be a next step, and I think it would actually increase the chances to win a playoff series also, because then you are seeded differently. It also gives you maybe a chance to have 2 home playoffs games. We have seen what a home playoff means. Other than that, I think for us, a next step, and that's part of how we can get there, is conceding less goals. I think that offensively, we have done a huge step forward. We have been one of the best attacking teams last year, and we have done that with at least not giving up anything on our defense performance. But our defense performance also a year before was below average or just average in the whole league. And so I think a next step would be to keep the attacking output, or to keep the level of attacking performance that we had last year, and now slowly increasing our defensive performance.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I'm always bad for more looking just at the offensive side, and I mean, defensively, the team did better. And like Vanny, when he spoke to Axel this week, had mentioned about they're looking to play more attacking. They want to be the most offensive team they can. He mentioned about having 3 players playing kind of up front, or the forward roles, I should say, not up front. Defensively, I've always felt we need a kind of experienced centre-back in there just to help the younger guys out, like a Chiellini style kind of figure. Is that something that the club is targeting right now?
Yeah, we have, and we will continue to. But the problem in our league is with the experienced centre-backs is they have still also be on a very, very good performance level, because most of the clubs invest their big dollars in their DPs in the offense. So if you are really experienced and you understand very well the game, and you can help the young players next to you, but your own performance, your physics and your one-on-one qualities are not any longer there where they have to be, it doesn't help you, because then you look really bad. And then all of this experience doesn't help you. And we have seen such examples in the league, that player came and they had a lot of experience, and everyone would say, wow, they would give something to the locker room, but on the pitch they couldn't perform any longer. So Chiellini is some form of a unicorn, somebody in that age who can play still on that level. He also has not played all games. He has had to take his pauses. So it's not an easy profile to find, because there are a lot of experienced old centre-backs that would like to come to the league for crazy dollars or for even reasonable dollars. But then if you look at their profiles, you say, oh, he has lost a step. If he gets isolated. Another thing that happens very often in this league, more often than in the European leagues, that you get isolated and you have to defend in a big space 1-on-1. And then if not everyone can do this any longer. So we continue to look at that. We agree, but I agree with you that could be a piece that helps us a lot. But at the end, this player has to be that good that he's playing ahead of the other guys, and it cannot be that the other guys then play because they are physically so much better than him. So we will, if there's the right one, we will definitely go for it. But if not, we have to defend as a team better, and I think some more experience will help. Obviously, we also look into how we can deal with situations if Cubas cannot play. What always hurt us, it is very clear that in all games where Cubas cannot play, the X goal against us is much higher than with him. So we also have to find a better solution how to play without him. He is our DP, and you will not have a second Cubas there, but then you have to have an alternative plan. So that's the other things that we're working on to improve our defense. But I agree, if the one opportunity comes up and there's the one profile, I don't think there's another Chiellini, but somebody who can give us a Chiellini-like light version, and we will definitely go for it.
Yeah, he's certainly a unique player, and it was nice at least briefly getting to chat with him last year. So, I mean, that was a highlight of my time covering the team. But, I mean, you mentioned Cubas there. I guess, I don't know what you can say, but there's all these rumours swirling around in Argentina that there's interest in him, and it's understandable that there'd be interest in him. He's a very good player. Do you expect him to be a Whitecap for this coming season?
Yes, absolutely.
That's good.
And there were also several really several MLS clubs who told me if the internal transfer market would come, that they would try to convince me to sell him. But we will not. We will not. We have said that we do things in the way we think they are right for us, and we want to build it in our idea, and we don't want to walk away from that. And for that reason, we also need the right DPs for us. And we think that with Ryan Gauld and with Andres Cubas, we have found the two ideal DPs for the Whitecaps. And I know that we have done a lot, that they feel really good, that their families feel really good. And I know that Cubas told me once, or in the exit meeting, he said, "Look, my wife is so happy." So I am very happy. So and they had this. He had this this experience in France where his wife felt really unhappy with being there. So I feel very, very confident that he will not knock at my door for whatever offers there might be in Argentina. No one ever has reached out to us, by the way. So I know he loves it to be here, and his family, to have his family here. He loves also the security of life for his family here. There are a lot of factors. So I don't see, as long as not Boca Juniors is calling or River Plate, but that's for every player. So
I'm sure if someone comes in with a 10 million plus offer, you're not going to exactly turn that down without thinking about it.
I don't see that happening, but I would always say I feel very confident. I say he will play for us next year, other than if this one thing happens. But then I tell you that is the same for every player.
Oh yeah.
If the Rangers tomorrow come and ask us for Ryan and they make a crazy offer, then I think he will be also gone, and that would be what it is. It's just the reality of our business. Harry Kane also left to Bayern Munich at some point.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone would have seen that coming.
Yeah. So,
but I would say, please don't sell Ryan to Rangers.
Okay.
I won't get into that. So, talking to Ryan, his contract's obviously up at the end of this year. He is a player you would like to have here beyond his current deal, I would imagine.
Absolutely. If I said before that, we think that with Ryan and Cubas, we have the two ideal DPs for us. That also means that we would like to keep them as long as possible. And for us, there's no reason to let them go at some point. So everyone can believe me that it's one of our priorities to make sure that we not lose our ideal DPs. So said that, I can let everyone know that no one has to be concerned that we are not speaking.
That's good to hear. I may as well ask this now as well, since we're on this topic. Richie Laryea, obviously his time with the club expired at the end of December. Things are very different at Nottingham Forest now, both on and off the pitch. They've turned things around. They've got a brilliant coach who I'm a big admirer of now in charge. I mean, what is it looking like with Richie? Are you still in talks with him? Is it still on the table, or are you kind of having to look in different directions now, because obviously you can only wait so long?
Yeah, absolutely. We can only wait so long, and he can only wait so long. The problem is there has been some rumors when we signed him that we will make him a DP, and the fact is that he cannot be a DP. That's league rules. Although he's not really a free agent, for the league he's right now a free agent because his contract with us expired. So long story short, there are limitations, and in those limitations that we have, what the max amount is that he can cost us in the cap, it's really difficult to get this deal right now done, because Nottingham is not up to let him go for nothing. Yeah. So that doesn't even mean that he's asking for crazy numbers, or that this is him pushing for unreasonable numbers. It's just the whole package. To fit the whole package in what the league allows us to pay. So said that, maybe things change at some point when Nottingham finds out that they cannot move him somewhere else and get the dollars, and windows closes, and there is only one remaining market where they can move the player into, and that the MLS, then maybe that changes. But right now it looks really, really difficult to get that within the numbers that we are allowed to pay.
Yeah, I think a lot of folk, that makes a lot of sense to them. And I mean, if he'd come as a DP, I wasn't a huge fan if that was what was going to happen. What I am a huge fan of, though, is the addition that has been made. Damir Kreilach, the former RSL captain and cap killer, is now a Whitecap player. He has been the biggest addition so far in the off-season. So we'll talk about that addition next, but we'll take a little break first, and we'll be back chatting to Axel about a whole lot more Whitecaps FC, and bring you the first song from our first album of the month here at AFTN after this.
Hi, I'm Brian White, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I've been digging this grave, but now that it's made, I see that black is one hell of a color. Want to break out, so I start to shout, but the morticians return to his parlor. Black hole, black hole. In my shroud upstairs, the music's so loud that I can't concentrate on my sorrow. Let down my hair and find something to wear, and then dance myself into tomorrow. Black hole, black hole. I'm in a hole here, and all I can see are these grey walls that are closing in
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the first song from our first album of the month here at AFTN. As I mentioned, we've switched it up from Artist of the Month for this year. Maybe just do it for this year, maybe do it for a couple of years, but what I've wanted to do is pick some of my favourite albums of all time, albums that a lot of you may not know. You might know the band, you might not know their album because it's an early work or whatever, or you might not know either. I think you might know this band, Manchester band James, them off the famous Sit Down and a lot more beside. That was a song from their debut album Stutter, and it is Stutter that is AFTN's first album of the month, released in 1986. It's a 12-track album. That was the last track on the album, Black Hole, one of the absolute standout tracks from an absolute standout album. It's an album that a lot of people won't know about from the band. They kind of really broke through with their third album, Gauld Mother, in 1990. They had two albums before that, Strip Mine in 1988 and Stutter, their debut in 1986. And it's a great album. It's an album that the band weren't overly happy with. They weren't happy with the production of it, how some of the songs sounded. So it's not so much that they've disowned it, but they really have stopped playing songs from it a long time ago as their sound kind of moved on, and it wasn't a good reflection of them, I think, was the feeling from Tim Booth and the band. I think, though, it is one of their strongest works. The lyrics on it are fantastic. It's just got such a great sound. Black Hole there, a song about how the mind of a person is a person's worst enemy at times. We'll play 3 more songs from the album over the course of this month. And as I mentioned, you might know the band. We've featured them on Wavelength before with their song Goalie's Ball, a song also that we use in our introduction and outro when we're doing interviews with goalkeepers. Goalie's ball, goalie's ball, goalie's got the ball. That one. So yeah, James, great band. Check out the whole album Stutter. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify and all the usual places. I've got it on vinyl. I've got it on CD. Add it to your collection. Give it a listen this month and let me know what you think of it. But we're going to get back to our chat with Axel now. We've chatted about a lot of stuff so far, and we've got a lot more to talk about. So, stick the kettle on again. Grab another biscuit, because you are worth it, and listen to the second part of our chat with Axel S. So Axel, we mentioned some departures, possible departures in the last part. The big addition the club's made so far this off-season. MLS veteran, RSL captain, a man that's really done the damage against the Whitecaps over the years. Croatian midfielder Damir Kreilach. Been a big admirer of him since he's come into the league. Have hated it when he's played against us because of the damage that he does. Delighted he's now a Whitecap. How did that come about, and how do you see Damir fitting into the Whitecap system?
First of all, I can copy everything you said. I really was scared when he played us. When we played against him, I hated him as a player on the opponent team, and I was really happy if he couldn't play. And I have voted for him as the MVP 2 years ago because I thought that he was the decision maker for Salt Lake, and they ended up to be in the conference final. And I think in the games he didn't play, they were not a conference final team, and in the games he played, they were a team that could make it to the conference final. So in this year, I have voted for him. So I'm a huge fan of him. It's a little bit of a lucky situation. I know his agent. He played in Germany, so his agent is located in Germany. I know his agent very well, and I met him in Europe, and at some point I said, "What is he doing?" And he said, "He maybe doesn't stay." I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, he bought a house there, but looks like he's looking for something at this end of the career, and he's still so full of hunger that he would like to try out something else." And then that kept in my mind until the point we really came to the point that we were allowed to speak with players, and I checked in with him. Has nothing changed? And he said, "Oh, there's something has changed. He has told the club that he will not stay there and he wants to go somewhere else." And then things went very quickly. We spoke with him, and I have to say, Rennie and me, we have been on the call with him, and the hunger in his eyes, and also this belief in himself. He said he had this terrible injury, and he said that normally it takes you as long to come back. It takes you as long as you have been out. And he said that's actually just over. So he said he has no issues. He has done all his rehab on turf. He really convincing. He told us very convincing that turf is not an issue at all for him.
I was going to ask that, so that's good to hear.
We were a little bit scared about that, but he said, "Look, I had to do my rehab in winter in Salt Lake. You know how winter is in Salt Lake." And I said, "I was always in the indoor dome that they have with the turf." So I said that was never a problem for me. So said that he also has some form of, I would say, swagger in him. What I also like, what we also need a little bit on the pitch, and he always has shown in the past. And he's a versatile player. He can play as a forward. He can play as one of the number 10s if you play with two number 10s. So it's easy to fit him in. He is also coming with the right hunger, but also with knowing that he's coming into a good team and that he is at the point of the career where he maybe will not start every game. And so we thought that this is a great combination of things that he can give us, and with us starting so quickly and having to be ready very early. I think it's good to also add the one or the other player who is already familiar with the market and everything. So yeah, so we're really happy with that, because I think he gives us additional solutions and possibilities.
The free agent market, we've spoken about this last year. It's difficult for certain clubs to get them because of tax implications elsewhere in North America. I mean, this was a good addition. How complete do you feel the squad is just now? I mean, I won't get to put a certain number on it because I know fans will then hold that over your head. Or Axel said we're going to add 3 more and we've only added 2 or whatever. But are you looking for first kick to have some more additions to the squad? We talked about centre-back. There's the Simon Betcher rumours to go to Horsens, which would leave a gap up front as well. I mean, are you expecting to be busy in the next couple of weeks, or are you having to kind of wait to see how things play out?
Yeah, it has been busy over the last weeks, and it will be busy for the next weeks. Yes, we want to add the one or the other two. I don't want to put a number on it. We want to add more than that if we find the right players, if they're good options there on the market. Maybe also the one or the other player still leaves us, and then that opens up new needs. I would say to be ready to play the same amount of games that we have played last year and having some depth. Other than Damir, we would like to add 2 more players. And everything else would then be an add-on, because there's a great opportunity. And ideally, we get those 2 players at least while we are in camp in Spain, to have them with us for the right time in the preseason. It's obviously a little bit easier if they are already in our market or have played in our market, or they come from another market where adaptation time doesn't take too long. For example, what I can share is that we in scouting and with our scouting department have clearly said we will not look for players right now that are coming from markets where immigration takes us, on work permits take us 6-8 months, weeks. because that will not help us. Those players will not be there for the start of the MLS season. If we say the start of MLS season is so important, then we have to focus on markets and countries and players from markets and countries and with passports that makes them eligible to come into the country immediately and to join our team immediately. So and that limits a little bit. On the other side, there are enough markets, and where we think that we have a group of starters, but we know that we need the depth to go through this long season with this amount of games.
Yeah. I had been pushing for the club to sign a guy that's a striker with Wimbledon, but he's Iraqi, and considering the issues we had with Ali Adnan before, I guess that was a non-starter. Last couple of things. It's a big year for the club. 50th anniversary. What kind of plans do you have in store for that? There's a great anniversary month because Messi's obviously, hopefully, come into town to play at BC Place in May, and then you're going to have the anniversary date with Austin as well. Seattle had kind of done some kind of retro relook of their logo and crest and stuff for the anniversary. What are the Whitecaps' plans to celebrate this 50th year?
First of all, and that is the main thing that matters for us as a club, is putting a team together and putting a performance on the pitch that makes it fun to watch the team and to support the team and to come to the games. Because we can do anniversaries as many as we want. If the team is not really entertaining, we will still not like to come to our anniversary games or the month of anniversary. Other than that, I think the club also wants to do the next step of how he connects with the community and what kind of projects really matter for the club in the community. We have a little bit delayed through COVID, but now we have started some of those campaigns, and we have opened a lot of mini pitches in British Columbia, in indigenous communities. We will do more. We will be very clear about our strategy and about our main aims on that side. We will also add a few other community games. You know that we have connected with the Indian community very well over the last years, but there are other important communities in British Columbia that we want to connect with. I think people, the thing that people can expect from us is that now with last year, feeling like we really went through all the challenges of the last years, including COVID mainly, but also some of the others that I had to deal with. Unfortunately, I think that we now feel that we have all the people in place, also on the business side, also on the community side, that we can do what we originally wanted to do already 2 years ago, to clearly show that we want to be the club of Vancouver, the club of British Columbia, the club for the people in British Columbia and Vancouver. I think a lot of the things that we do around the 50th anniversary will not be games, will be more community programs and such things. We want to find a way to make soccer more accessible for kids from underprivileged communities, because we know and we have seen and we have proofs in our organization that top players can come from those communities. Ali Ahmed is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. So we want to make this a community club, and we want to open our doors for everyone in the community. And I think that matters for us far more than all celebrations and is Messi coming to town. It's a nice thing. Don't get me wrong. I said it, that the world best player is coming to Vancouver and playing in our stadium. It's great that you can see him once maybe in your life. It's great. But If you speak about 50 years of Vancouver Whitecaps and about the next 50 years, there are far bigger things and other things that matter for us.
Yeah, I mean, we've played Pele and Beckenbauer and folk like that in the past. So, I have an idea to pitch to you quickly at the end when we've stopped recording, but I'll come to that. So, two things finally. So, obviously, Messi is coming to BC Place. We saw the stadium opened for the LAFC game. I think the expectation is it's going to open up. Is that going to be a gradual sort of sale of the tickets so that you monitor them, you know exactly where things are going? And just a general BC Place question. The Tigres game had to get moved, obviously, because of the other thing. There's not exactly a lot of other options for you. But do you see BC Place continuing to be the long-term home for the club? Or would you like the club to explore options to try and get a soccer-specific stadium somewhere that when you look at St. Louis, Cincinnati, Columbus, and just how special and magical those atmospheres are?
I don't want to compare our scenario with what we have in St. Louis or Austin, because a lot of things are different there. They are brand new franchises and expansion teams. So we are there, one of the old animals in this business. So 50 years, not so many soccer clubs after 50 years. We won a North American championship. 79. So no one was speaking about Austin FC or St. Louis at that time. So no, look, sometimes sometimes it's me. You go to a stadium and say, oh, Cincinnati or St. Louis or Austin feels like great atmosphere, and then I go to Seattle and say, wow. Also in a big stadium, the atmosphere can be great. If you go to Atlanta, if you get to Charlotte, Charlotte is doing a really good job in a big building. So then I think, look, why should we limit ourselves to 18,000, 19,000? What literally is then the number of Austin or St. Louis or Minnesota has, I think, 18,000. It's a really nice stadium, Allianz Field. And would you say, if somebody was tell me, hey, but Allianz Field in Minnesota, if you would have that stadium in Vancouver, would that not be great? And honestly, I would say it's too small. So that's a fact. So we had 30,000. We had 30,000 plus in the stadium against LAFC. You don't fit 30,000 plus in St. Louis Stadium or Austin Stadium. So I think there is still also a possibility to make our stadium a huge experience and huge castle, or for us, fortress for us. It's up to us to, as I said before, to prove that we are heading in the right direction, that we are improving, if improving only means that we continue to play that way of exciting soccer that we have played last year, and we consistently show that even if we move players in and out, that we can build a sustainable product here, and then we can add other things around that, and then it's maybe a 50th anniversary. It is a Messi game. It's a real home opener. Home openers have always been big in our stadium since I'm here. So it's up to us to make the home opener big. We have a real home opener. Luckily, we were not supposed to have one, but because we have a bye at the first weekend, we have a real home opener. So make it big, bring in a huge crowd, and get a result, and then things can go automatically from there. If I go to Toronto and see their numbers, why we should not have those numbers in Vancouver? Our stadium is far better. So, and we showed a better performance over many years now. So why should that not be possible in Vancouver? But we knew with all the things that happened before arrived to the club, we knew that it will take time. People will be skeptical. We will not get the benefit of the doubt. People will say, yeah, I heard they won 2 games in a row, but I don't trust it. So I think we actually have a really good role model in our city, how to start into a season. So let's do it like the Canucks. Why not? Why not turning around things and having super successful sports teams in Vancouver?
So if we're super successful this year and we're in the MLS Cup and we're the top seed, we can't play at BC Place because Taylor Swift has a concert that weekend. What would happen?
That for now would be my last problem because I really first would like to get there, and then we figure out what to do. It's not like that all the other stadiums are always available. So there are NFL stadiums. The league has had to move around things also in the past. Look, let's get into a cup final and being the top seed.
That's fair. And
then solve that problem. I'm pretty sure we will find a solution for that if we get there. But I said already to Benny that if you really want to create us problems, then do that, and I mean that in a positive way. So I would like to have some problems.
Very last thing, Germany, Scotland in the Euros. How worried are you? How worried are you that Ryan's going to come in the squad and score?
Yeah, I would take that. Ryan at the Euros and scoring the winning goal against Germany, I take that. I think Germany, you never know with them. It's one of those teams that you normally don't like to play because they are some form of a unpredictable thing.
Yeah.
They have had really, really bad performances. They also had some outstanding performances. So they have still the quality, but right now they have not the team together really. It's not the right. They don't have the right synergies in the team. But it's at home and things can develop. Germany has proven that very often in tournaments, having a bad start, a bad game, and there are a lot of stories around the World Cups, even when they won. Not the last one. The last one we won every single game. But the World Cups before we won, we actually started mostly bad into World Cup. So 74 at home was actually terrible how we started. We were almost kicked out by the Eastern Germany part. So and 82 when we went to the final, there was this shitty 1-0 against Austria that kicked out Algeria. Because it was almost.
I remember that very well.
So Germany has some really, really historical games or experiences of being very bad at the beginning of tournaments. So I would never underestimate. I would never underestimate them. But look, we can go both through the group stage.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I take that.
Thank you for your time as always, Axel. It's always been a pleasure to chat with you. And yeah, good luck for the season ahead, and I look forward to chatting to you this year.
Thank you very much. Speak soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Axel Schuster there, talking all things Whitecaps. A lot of stuff to come out of that. We're going to unpack some of it in our next part, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi guys, it's Richie. You're listening to AFTN Soccer Show.
Yo, what they expect? Expecting safer bars like outside the bars, how they handle bars and recycle past. I know the type like that, they be typing that in their phones, hold it open and recite it back. And yeah, I'm not like that, tie the knots with that. Aim high, you can risk get burnt on wax till the turntables running, get spuns attacks. Fault of death, nah man, just that cut and scratch. My diagnosis, dying unknown prick, I never have a doubt, even flick away roach tits, but can't focus, close to psychosis, coasting through life like a raid on a ghost ship. See through sails in these audio waves. Yes, it's hard for the skeleton crew to save face. Scottish hip-hop was never engraved into minds, but in mine it's on constant replay to make bars work. Never done bar work, but pouring up my spirit like when anyone asked for high. Bottle up, or bottoms up standard. Star sign cancer, hence a crabby bastard. Getting better in your old age where, nah, I'm just a realist best and the realest you've heard. There's something on my nerves, I don't swerve, I serve. Plus I like using adjectives, nouns and verbs. I'm not adverse to a little criticism in verse, but I'm not versus you, it's just things in my head. I think it's all for the best to get it off of my chest. And I have a mic, so I might as well record what I said. Word, yeah, I'm invested, but nothing's expected. I've accepted neglected, but I'm not saying you shouldn't aim for the best, mate. Just record pleasing industry has never affected me. Plus, I never really suited a suit. If one's due, I end up with that court date look. I love gigs, making cash for tunes, but don't assume that's the point I got in this booth. I seeked an art form for outlet, a platform too. Created one for the borough, I push all you truth. Food for thought, fed my thoughts, put myself to good. But in the end, what do you do when it all comes true? I'm not complaining, I'm just stating and slaying the wains, claiming the pages the same above what I'm doing. But Bairns must be using cranes, all that wordplay's tame. Plus on tracks are off time, like a Scott Rail train. Any caring is over, gonna eat meat again and start drinking cola. And fuck solar, put coal in your motor, pour oil in the ocean and deep fry cannanola.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our good friend Word SOS from Edinburgh, Scotland, and a song originally recorded in 2020, but it was an unreleased track, and it came out in November before his new album dropped. But Dr. I Am Pagliacci, this song doesn't feature on it, but he put the video out that they made in 2020. I went back and forth on this because it had been unreleased and it came out in 2023. Could I have put it in my Festive 15? And in the end I decided not to, but it would certainly have been very high up, probably top 5 if I had decided that it met the criteria. So I wanted to play it on the show anyway this week.
If you're disappointed that Michael didn't include it in his Festive 15, please make sure to email or tweet at him.
Of course. But the song is called Deep Fried Cannaloa, featuring Big Tash, and the beat in it is all beatbox as well. So, fantastic song. Word SOS. Check out all his stuff on Bandcamp and all the usual places. So, in this part, we're going to unpack a little bit of what Axel Schuster said there in parts 2 and part 3. And some good stuff there from Axel. Always appreciate the generous time that he had. Generous? I don't know why I said it like that. Always appreciate the generosity, I think is what I was trying to say, of his time. He's always very good and happy to chat about things with us. And moving into 2024, Zaki said it's not just about making the playoffs to be successful. Success is the atmosphere, the culture, the energy in the group, at the club, in the stands. And I've got to say, in all my years around the team, this past season, this felt like one of the best squads, one of the best groups. It was a close-knit group. It felt like a group that had good character in it as well. Very likeable players, and a Whitecaps team that you're really cheering for them, and you're really cheering for the players individually.
Yeah, what are they going to do now, though, with no Rusty in this playing squad?
That makes it even better, some may say. I didn't ask Axel, actually, about Rusty, because I was running out of time, and I knew that JJ had spoken to him, and JJ obviously asked about Rusty, and if anyone hasn't seen that...
Yeah, I read the article, yeah.
Tybert has been offered a non-playing role at the club, and it's basically the ball's in Rusty's court if he wants to accept it, or if he feels that he can still play. So I guess he's going to wait to see if offers come along, maybe from CPL, maybe from within MLS, but we don't know what that role is at the club. If I were him, I would take it, but as a player, it's hard to hang the boots up. But
he's only 31, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could also have him, just throw this idea out there, as an overage League One team player. And like what he could then share with the young guys coming through and following in his footsteps. I'm not sure he would want to do that, but it's like, I think that would be a nice thing for him to do.
In one sense, I'll be a little disappointed if he doesn't try and play football somewhere else. Whether it's
I think
CPL,
at his age,
USL,
he probably should.
Oh, he should. It'll be a little disappointing if he's like, "Oh, I'm going to take a non-playing job with the Whitecaps." Like,
yeah,
Yeah, that seems like a bit of a waste.
But the Whitecaps have done good by him, I feel, by making that offer. And it's like, look, if you can't get anything, we've got this role here for you. If you want to go and play, good luck to you, but your future is not here, which is
I just hope
right thing to be made.
But here's the thing. I hope it's like a legitimate thing, right? Like when Jay Demerit left in the middle of the season because of his injury, right? That allowed them to bring in Kendall or whatever. I think what he got paid out for the rest of the season was something, but I think the next year they offered him money to be like an ambassador type role, but it was like an embarrassing offer. Like the person who offered it to him was like embarrassed to have to bring him the financial terms of the offer, right?
But you also have to remember this is a way different club now, and it's run
I agree. I agree. I just hope that this is one of the ways that they've improved, especially for Rusty's sake.
Getting into some of what Axel said there, I think echoing us and the fan base, disappointed with the slow starts for the past 2 seasons. So much was made of it at the end of 2022 that we can't have that in 2023. We've got to get off to a fast start. They went to Marbella to try and get the best prep. They went down to the Coachella tournament. They did everything right, but yet they still had that slow start. And in part, it was because Ryan Gauld wasn't firing on all cylinders. Brian White came into the camp with an injury. Cordova hadn't settled fully into the team, so everything was still integrating. Their top players weren't performing. And it's hard to just flick a switch and start the season. But
we referenced it last time. Gauld took 1 or 2 knocks to his melon, which really put him off.
Yeah. And this year, like last year, they've got the Champions League, Champions Cup as it is now, which will hopefully get them prepared for it. But then we did have that last year. They're off to Marbella again. And Vanny, when he spoke to JJ Adams at the Province, had said the Tigres game, it's going to be a case of whoever's ready will start. It could be the lemon, he said, that many people think it is going to be, or it could be a great performance. And we don't know. And they've nothing to lose in that game, really, because I don't think anyone's expecting them to get anything out of it. But that in itself is going to be a good test for them.
I enjoy a good lemon and lemonade. And
I love
things.
lemon stuff. But Real España last year maybe wasn't the best top test to get them ready for the MLS season. Tigres will be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. But Axel did make a good point. They lost that opener to RSL. And if they had won that, the atmosphere in the town and around the club would have been stronger. They would have started off in the top 4. They'd have had something to defend, something to try and get going over the rest of the season. And we know what Vancouver's like. We see it with the Canucks this season. The team's doing well. The Canucks. Yeah. But I mean, it's true though. Like, the Canucks are doing well, or the Lions are doing well. There's all this hype about them. They're in all the media. There's a big buzz about the town. We saw it with the Whitecaps towards the end of the season, the LAFC game, all the fans coming out. It is a kind of town that rides with the flow. I don't want to say bandwagon, but it rides with momentum. It rides with the good times.
Okay. I don't disagree with any of that. And he did talk about the ice hockey team and their good start to the year and how that helped them. I don't know if you can totally lump what the Lions did in with that. Now the Lions, I think they did well. I don't follow the pigskin.
Yeah, they had a good season. They had good crowds, but they had to work hard for it, and it was a struggle. And they had to put concerts on. And
well, that's the thing, though.
But they had new ownership.
The buzz, the new ownership, and the buzz that was created from their marketing efforts, from their whatever, like that's what helped the Lions get more people on the ground. That's what got them off to the good start of the season, right? What was it? They brought in LL Cool J to start the season. It was the big
ladies love Cool J.
Exactly. So it wasn't was my limited understanding and perspective of that part of the sporting landscape in the Lower Mainland. That was, to me, I would say that was not as much results driven. There was like a buzz for like weeks leading up to that of LL Cool J is coming, and it got a certain demographic of people, people of a certain age, excited to to go there and to take in the game, and I think that built the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'll say is, yes, the on-field and doing well is huge for sure, but I think it's also what you do, how you market, how you engage the community, and getting creative or whatever. Maybe you say, "Oh, Cool J's not that creative," but whatever. Getting creative and trying to get people in.
Well,
right?
I mean, that's exactly why I pitched him having Ice Peak in for the home opener. And we'll get a whole new goth crowd that we've never attracted to Whitecaps games before. Have a black away kit, and it's like, we are sorted.
There you go.
I'll be a happy bunny. But I mean, Axel did talk, though, about the importance of getting that right off the pitch as well. And he did talk a lot when we talked about the 50th anniversary stuff.
Right.
That it's not necessarily going to be like on-pitch stuff that's going to be the big, but it's getting into the communities and getting into the different kinds of communities and just spreading the word. So I think they are planning to do a lot of that, which they need to do.
But did he also say, though, they haven't done all the stuff for that yet? Kind of like,
yeah.
Like, I can't remember, because I thought he said, yeah, we've done the initial stuff, but there's more, or there's...
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's going to be
Plus, I think for them, actually, you could say their big thing, actually, forget about everything else. I know you talked to him about it, is the, the Argentines coming, right? Like that, that is their big.
Messi coming to town in May, which is also their 50th anniversary month.
Yeah.
The marketing around that and the buzz around that could be massive.
Yeah.
Because
that's what it'll be for them.
Canucks could still be playing, but there's a good chance that they could be the only ticket in town. The Canucks, the way that they're going, probably will. You would imagine or hope that they're still going to be playing in May. But when Messi comes, maybe not, depending on how things go. But it's certainly, that's a big buzz, and that really helps them. And I think because it is the 50th anniversary year, that is probably one of the reasons why they've got that match. It was interesting. I saw this week Dallas are playing Inter Miami in a pre-season friendly at the Cotton Bowl. So this is a way to get him to the other markets that's not league games, because you'll still get the fans out and pack the stadiums and stuff, and they get to see it, and it grows the league and the buzz and etc., etc. But I mean, they know that they need to do that. They want to get into different kinds of communities, and he spoke that they've done well with the Indian South Asian community, and they want to expand on that as well. So, I mean, as we know from Vancouver FC, put a lot of effort into trying to get into different communities, and it's not always easy to do that, and it helps if it's a winning team on the pitch.
Yep.
And for the Whitecaps, it's all about the next step now. And everyone knows the next step, playing-wise, is to win a playoff series. That it's like, go deeper in the playoffs. That's clearly a next step.
That's what I was going to say, a next step, because he talked about that's not the only next step.
And it's not.
Which is good to hear him say that. Because
I think it has been a case of playoffs or bust far too often before. When we've talked about it, we've done it on this show. Bobby's talked about it before. Coaches have talked about it before. And that's what all the focus is on. But it isn't just about that, because it's like they've had a good 2023. So success is being at least as good, winning a Canadian Championship, a three-peat, getting into the Champions Cup again, getting into the playoffs again, good finish in the league. All those things is a successful season, and it's matching what they've done. And that is a step in a way, because you're repeating it, which we haven't been good at doing. And Axel talked about consistency, and that's in two things. It's consistency on the pitch in games week to week, but it's also consistency season to season, that you're not doing well and then taking a backward step, which I think the Whitecaps have done far too often over the years.
Yep.
He also rightly says that it's like, if you have a top four finish in the league, and that's one of your goals, to be top four, that is likely to lead to a playoff success, because you're going to be a higher seed. You're going to potentially have an easier game, potentially, if it's still best of 3-2 home games, and all that kind of stuff. So it all goes hand in hand. But to get there, we have to keep the same offensive output, which is asking a lot of Brian White and Ryan Gauld to have career years again, and they were both excellent in 2023. They've got a little bit of help in Kreilach coming in, but they also have to be better defensively as well. And we talked there about getting an experienced centre-back in, and like a Chiellini light, for want of a better phrase. I quite like that, and I know what he meant, and I hope folk don't use that in a certain way, but it is that kind of player, because there's not many players like Chiellini around, and I love that he describes him as a unicorn. And it's like, he is a special kind of player. But you want that veteran that can still perform and be the leader in the locker room. And as he's talked about there, sometimes you can get one and not the other.
Not the other, yeah.
And the ones that can do both, most of them are wanting a high ticket to come into the league. Yeah. And then you're giving a high ticket to an older guy. Some, though, do want to just come over and experience MLS. Probably some of them experience the lifestyle. Some will want to give back as well. But they might be able to give back in the locker room, but can they do it on the pitch? Because there isn't any point in bringing over a guy that's maybe going to be the number 3 in the pecking order, and he's going to be behind Blackman and Ranko. Is that necessarily going to help them be better defensively?
Yeah, there's a lot of things they need to do. There's some gaps they need to fill. I liked how you talked to him a lot about this. Yeah, the important. I like how he said that one of the goals needs to be to allow less goals, right? Like if they can maintain or keep going in the direction they're going offensively, which again I think was quite exciting for most people. It's just cleaning things up at the back.
Yeah. And he wants the team to be entertaining, and they certainly were last year.
Yeah,
but they have to tidy it up. And as I always say, and I know it's obvious, but it's like you keep a clean sheet, you've got at least a point.
Like for you, Michael, not even a debate, right? The most exciting side in MLS era.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there was flashes of teams in the Robo era, but...
Yeah,
I mean,
so yeah, for sure.
Talk about Vanny's team not being consistent. They are, on the whole, consistently entertaining.
Yeah.
And they play an attractive style of football that for the casual, I think someone would come along and enjoy the majority of the games at BC Place. They definitely have to add, for me, a centre-back. But they also have to add a forward. And like, Axel's looking to... I didn't want him to give a number per se, because folk will say, well, Axel said on the AFTN show that they want to add 2 or 3 pieces, and they haven't done that. But he did say ideally 2 pieces.
Yeah.
And you have to think centre-back and forward, especially with the news that came out this week. Somewhat surprising in a way. Simon Betcher looks set to be heading to Denmark with Tier 2 side Horsens for a deal that would be worth 400,000 US, according to reports, and the Whitecaps would retain a sell-on fee, which they've been very good at getting under Axel and his moves there. Now, it's a great move. It's a great deal. You bite your hand off if someone wants to give you 400k for a player. I know in the grand market scheme of transfers, 400k is nothing. It's a drop in the ocean. But for MLS, for the Whitecaps, it's a good deal. Simon Betcher wasn't getting playing time. I was wanting to ask Vanny, and I had forgotten, and I was going to mention to Axel about why was that the case, but if he's moving on, no point dwelling on that too much. But part of me also thinks 400k isn't a lot. Could he stay, break into the team, and be that guy that on their predictions last week I hoped he could maybe be? But for Simon, it's a great move for him. Great opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's the best of both worlds for the club and for the player, right? Like, he's going to get a different opportunity where he's likely to be, I would imagine, in the second division in Denmark, be a go-to starter, right? Or at least be given that opportunity.
You would hope so.
Especially if they're spending money on him.
And we've seen what he can do.
Yeah, and then the Whitecaps are getting, he was a draft pick, right? So they're getting 400k for a player that they have by how Vandy's used him, don't think he's good enough to make the breakthrough yet, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so why not?
He's not going to dislodge Brian White at this point. And if you're playing with a one striker, it's like...
No. Yeah.
So, and you've got Kreilach now as a guy off the bench. So push down a bit more. I mean, it's sad to see him go. Really like Simon. We've chatted to him a lot in his time here. And hopefully once he settles there, we'll kind of reach out and maybe have a little chat with him as well. But him and his family have been good on Twitter and interacting and stuff. I'm sure they listen to the show and stuff as well. So wish Simon all the very, very best. It reminds me a lot of the Theo Bair kind of situation a few years back, where it's like you weren't going to get that playing time, so you kind of have to move on. And Theo struggled a bit at first, but he's starting to find his feet now with Motherwell. Just made the SPFL Team of the Week as well. And
was that for last week's show where he had the brace and the and the assist? But
they also scored the next game as well. So he's on a little bit of a tear. But now it's the winter break in Scotland.
Was the one he scored the week after, was it as good as the chip he scored?
No, that was a nice little goal.
Quite a nice goal.
But yeah, I'll get in touch with Theo actually, and we'll get him on the show and see how life is treating him in Scotland. Some players though that don't look like they're going anywhere from a good point of view. Two of our DPs, Andres Cubas and Ryan Gauld. So there's been all these rumours swirling about Cubas. Yeah, that's the best kind of rumours, the ones that swirl.
Yeah. Okay. So, but are not one? It isn't. Did I misread things? Wasn't not one of the sides that was rumored to be interested in him, Boca Juniors?
Yes.
So because that's not saying his things like, yeah, if someone offers you crazy money, then you have to consider it. Or if it's like a club like Boca
Juniors, yeah. Yeah, I did think that. But, I mean, that makes sense. If it's Boca or River Plate that's coming in with a $10 million bid, you're going to listen. But the thing is, although they've been rumoured, Axel mentioned there, no one's actually approached the club about it. And we see this a lot in South America. There's a lot of media scuttlebutt to try and drive up interest perhaps in a player, maybe coming from agents, maybe coming from journalists, whatever. And he's a good player. But it's not just that you take into account. So Axel's basically said, barring a big move, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be a Whitecaps player this year, and that is music to our ears. And when I tweeted that out on Friday as a little teaser for the show, folk were delighted that is the case.
It was one of the nicest, or not nicest, but one of the encouraging things that he said there was the two about how Cubas, his wife, both of them, their family, whatever, didn't settle well in France. And yet he settled very well in Vancouver.
Yeah. And happy wife, really happy life is the old saying. But I mean, genuinely, a happy family life, if you've got that, you'll settle. And if you haven't got that, and we saw it with Damir Kreilach, he couldn't get his family here, so he was unsettled and various stuff like that. But they love it here. And I believe they spent Christmas here, or I think they came back for Christmas. So if you're doing that, you love it. They've been up to Whistler recently, if you look at their Instagram and stuff, and they get out, and they seem to really love it in the city. And it's security, safety. That's stuff that I think people in countries like Canada, America, the UK, we maybe take a bit for granted. That it's like we live in, on the whole, safe countries. And yeah, he could still go if there's a big offer. An interesting thing that Axel said there, because he's mentioned this before, that there's players that the Whitecaps have that MLS teams are interested in, and Cubas is clearly one of them. And he did say if there was an internal transfer market in MLS, clubs have said to him, oh, we'd make a play for him. So basically, if it was an open transfer market like Europe, you'd have LAFC going, okay, we're bidding you this, we want him. And for all the crap that goes on in MLS with all the stupid mechanisms and Garber box and stuff, it's actually good from a Whitecaps point of view that there isn't an open internal market, because our best players would be picked off left, right and centre. And we'd always be down the bottom struggling until we develop the next one, then he gets picked off.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong.
Part of me, though, would like to see it.
Yeah.
So that if we had an ownership group that said, we want to make that play for Johnny Russell to keep Michael happy, that they did something like that. But we've got Ryan Gauld. He's better than Johnny Russell. And Ryan Gauld, another thing that there was rumours that there hadn't been talks to extend his contract with the club, and Axel said there, hey, talks have taken place. And again, music to everyone's ears. Axel feels Ryan Gauld, Andres Cubas are the ideal DPs for the club and the Whitecaps' needs. And it's hard to disagree with that. It's like they fit the mould. They're performing players at a good money. And we're not going to go out and spend 10, 15, 20 million on some players. They've done well for us, and it's great that hopefully we can both keep them here long term.
Yeah, I think every Whitecaps fan will be happy to hear him say, yeah, basically they have no desire to ever move these players on. Like they want them here for as long as possible.
But I mean, Ryan, he's got options, and he might want to give it another crack at Europe. And as Axel said, a club like Rangers could come in, and we shut that down very quickly. He's not going there. East Fife, different story. But a player that doesn't look like he's going to be a Whitecap for 2024, though, is Richie Laryea. And JJ spoke to Axel as well on Friday as myself. And if you've read JJ's piece and then you heard Axel there, basically, it's not looking likely that Richie's coming back. His wife, I think, on Instagram had basically said, looking forward to what the next adventure would be, to paraphrase. But as Axel said, all parties in this can only wait so long. And you've got to move on. You can't wait to see if he's going to come at the end of the month when there's other targets that you kind of want in for the Tigres game and in preparation for the season. And there's these limitations, which I've looked a little bit into because I was a bit confused when Axel said this to me. And also he said it to JJ as well. But Richie can't be a DP here because of the league rules that he's a free agent, even though he's not a free agent, because of how MLS class free agents. And because he was a below TAM threshold player, he also can't be a DP.
Yeah, it was really interesting to hear him talk about that and say, when the deal was done to bring him here, they couldn't work things out then because of the limited amount of time before the window closed. And then how he was like, as soon as people were talking about him possibly being a DP here, he's like, no. Like, so he knew that that wasn't a possibility when it happened. I kind of wish they had squelched that fire earlier.
Yeah, I think it would have been good.
But I'm glad he said it now.
And it's like we've looked into it now, and other folk have as well. And it's what MLS, like, it seems stupid, but part of it makes sense. And they don't want a DP at one club to let his contract wind down and become a free agent and then just move to another club as a DP. And they don't want players that's like TAM or below TAM to be like, okay, I'm just going to ride my time out and then I know I'll get a better deal as a DP somewhere. Because they're wanting to attract new DPs and players of that quality to the league. So, I mean, that does make sense. Axel said he's not asking for crazy numbers.
No.
But it's the whole package that comes with it, because they have to pay the transfer fee to Forrest. And it's up to Forrest now if they can move him before the end of the month, because they want a transfer fee. And they kind of need a transfer fee, because I don't know if you heard the news that kind of came out this week. Forrest are one of the teams that might now be
in trouble,
following Everton and getting a financial fair play penalty. The clubs that's getting investigated are getting announced on January 14th, and they'll be investigated and a decision made by the end of April, so that any points deduction at that point can come before the end of the season. You kind of wish it would be quicker, but Forest are one of these teams. Now, getting money in now doesn't help them, but if they get a points deduction and relegation, they need money in to fight next year in the championship. They have turned things around. They've got a great manager in charge now, but it's going to be an interesting one. But if Forest can't sell him, the transfer window's closed in a lot of places, so MLS might be the only option. Would they be happy to have another loan? Maybe. Would they want to sell it to MLS? Probably. Would a club like TFC be interested? You'd imagine definitely.
Yeah.
So there's a lot up in the air, but the Whitecaps can't just hang around for weeks.
No.
It's a shame for Richie as well, because he's kind of a bit in limbo.
Yeah. His hands are harshly tied in all this. So, yeah, again, I don't think anyone, I think at the time we said it, I said I wouldn't be surprised that he's not here, right? Like back as a, after this initial loan deal. Axel's right. Yeah, they need to have I mean, because they want to get off to a good start. They want to have all their pieces in place. So they don't want to be holding on to salary, budget, and roster spots and whatever until the last minute, right? They want to come out of the gates flying. So I wouldn't hold it against Axel, for if he's not able to.
No, I don't blame Axel for this. I don't blame Richie for this. I don't even blame Forrest for this. It's just an unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
And it's like Richie's the worst impacted, because it's like he can't plan for the future. His family can't plan for the future.
No. You know that fans are going to be choked though if he ends up in Toronto.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd be pissed off by that, but I mean, yeah. It is what it is, and he gave us all in the jersey.
So Michael, with him not back, then I think JJ talked about this in his article, right? Then you only have Sam, Luis Martins, and Ryan Raposa as your
I think that's
concerning.
If you're looking at bringing 3 additions in, centre back, forward, and a Laryea replacement,
a right wing back, yeah,
but I mean there could be folk also move on from the club as well, Axel kind of said. So, I mean, they do expect to be busy over the coming weeks, so it's going to be interesting. The one player that has come in, of course, is Damir Kreilach, and it was great to hear Axel there talk about how it all came about.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we'd mentioned the Union Berlin aspect of it, and obviously with having a German agent, Axel knows it, and just said, oh, what's happening with him? Perfect timing. And what was particularly pleasing to hear is Kreilach is keen to go. He's rehabbed on turf. He says turf's no issue to this injury. He's excited to be here. He's hungry. He's got the fire back. He talked about last season. It wasn't a great season, but Damir basically says, look, this is an injury that can take as long to recover from as you're out from. So now he's ready to go for this season. And that, to me, just gave me a lot more excitement than I already had for this, which was quite high.
It was music to everyone's ears when Axel said, he did all his rehab on a domed turf pitch in Salt Lake.
Yeah. It's like great. And I can't wait to see him in Whitecaps colours. And we hope to have him on the show maybe next week. We hope to maybe get a chat with Damir this week, and we'll bring you that next week just to look over his career and various things. But we've got an email from long-time listener and supporter Julian Dirks. I want to pronounce it. I'm sorry, Julian, if I've murdered your name. He sent us this email. He was in Berlin. He's a long-time resident of Vancouver from Berlin. And he says, here in Berlin, I support Union. And it's a member, it's an anti-fascist fan club. Life in the club and at the stadium is amazing wherever I can make it over there. I was delighted to hear your discussion of Damir Kreilach. We'll be welcoming him with a hearty Fußballgott after his name is read at BC Place.
Yeah, you pronounced that wrong.
Did I?
Yeah. It's Fußballgott.
Ah.
It means football god. It's traditional in Germany.
I knew it meant God, but I thought
Gott. Yeah, no Gott. The most clubs, not most clubs, a bunch of clubs. Some clubs they'll have like every season they'll have a player that they do it for. So when I first started, the first player I remember for Bayern I think was Carsten Janker. I think they called him Fußballgott, right? Because big, tall, bald-headed center forward. Later they called him Null Tor Yanker, which was unfortunate. Or that's what the opponents called him. No goals Yanker.
Yeah, that's not a nickname you want.
No, but no, it's so.
There are a few no goals wankers here.
It's in the pre-game lineup. When the announcers announcing the thing, they would say the number 19 Karsten, and the crowd would yell Yanker foosball got. So he's saying,
hey, let's get that to catch on in a BC place.
There you go.
Last thing, really, just from the chat is I asked him about BC Place, and yeah, Taylor Swift. It would be a headache he would love to have.
Yeah.
I mean, they could always move it to the Monday or the Tuesday if we are hosting.
Well, he did say, he said MLS is, because they know some of their facilities have other things, they have had to have been flexible.
I'd imagine it would be the Tuesday because she's there the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you'd need the Monday for breaking everything down and stuff. But Tuesday avoids Monday night football and everything as well. I'm getting very, very far ahead of myself here.
It gives people an excuse for why it's not full, right? It was a Tuesday night.
But it also sounds like they're not going anywhere for a new stadium as well, and he feels that BC Place, the size isn't prohibitive to having those kind of atmospheres that you get at soccer specific stadiums. I will respectfully disagree with him on that, but I also partly feel in his heart he would also respectfully disagree, but there isn't really a lot of options unless someone wants to build a stadium in 2 years.
Yeah.
Last bit of Whitecaps news. Brian White earned his first call-up to the US men's national team this week. So he's had his medicals done already, and he joins up with the US national team on Monday. My understanding of this is it's a little bit weird. They play Slovenia on January 20th, but not the whole squad will be playing that. So if White isn't in the squad to play the game, he's going to go and join up with the Whitecaps in Marbella, or he will play that game. Either way, it's going to be some good pre-season for him anyway, and it's great reward for Brian after a great season. Delighted for him.
Yeah, congratulations, Brian.
That is it for our Whitecaps chat. Pretty much it for the show, but we're going to bring you this episode's wavelength, and it ties in with Brian White's call-up. This is an English band, originally from Portsmouth, now based in London. They're called Hotel Lux. And this is a song that features on their debut album from 2023, Hands Across the Creek. Was close to featuring in my Festive 15 as well, but I wanted to keep it for a wavelength, so it ties in very nicely. Hotel Lux, national team.
The national team. The national team. There's people my age that play for the national team. The national team. The national team. There's people my age that play for the national team. Of life is one that's hard to grasp. I'm clapping out of time, but I want it to last. Once full to the brim was my half glass, but now the flag we fly, it's hanging at half mast. The national team, the national team. There's people my age that play for the national team. The national team, the national team. There's people my age that play for the national team. But don't pity the runner-up, for he was just trying his best, while silver ups his medication and gold he beats his chest. If life's a competition, then we can't be the winners. This manual that I own It's written for beginners. If life's a competition, then we can't be the winners. This manual that I own, it's written for beginners. The national team, the national team. There's people my age who play for the national team. The national team, the national team. There's people my age who play for the national team. And everything I wanted, it's only a dream. Yet there's people my age who play for the national team. And everything I wanted, it's only a dream. Yet there's people my age who play for the national team.
English band Hotel Lux there, national team. It's a great video as well, check it out, football themed video, some good stuff in it. And the lyric in that, Zach, there's players my age that's in the national team. No players my age, sadly, in the national team. Maybe the seniors, but yeah, long gone are those days. But a great song, a great band, check them out. Maybe we'll feature that album as album of the month as well. Really like an earlier song that's not on their album as well, the Hangman. It's a good one, so check that out. But that is it for the show. Just before we go though, Zach, any final thoughts from you? Anything that's caught your eye this week?
No, I just want to give a shout out, Ren, to a listener to the show today. We, end of December, beginning of January is often the time where like there's a lot of you're spending a lot of money on different gatherings and presents and all these different things. So every so often we'll go to and now if you know the answer to this, don't say it, Michael. But
okay,
we'll go to and I'm sure you do because you're Scottish. But we'll go to the place. We'll go to a place where you can get probably the cheapest meal, like anywhere, these days. And we were at this place, and someone I'm friends with recognized was also there with their family and came over and said hi and catching up because I haven't seen each other in person in a long time, but we know what's going on in each other's lives through social media and whatever. And then he said, "Oh yeah," he made a joke or something, and I laughed or whatever. And he's like, "I still listen to the podcast often, and I love that laugh." And
I do love your laugh.
Like many of my friends said, yes, I like it when you laugh, and then there's that pause, and you're like, Michael.
And it happens a lot.
It does. Anyways, that's Andrew Cowan. So shout out to Andrew Cowan. It was good to see you today.
Awesome.
If you know what the cheapest place is to get a meal, when Michael posts this on Twitter, put it in there or text Michael or.
I made it everyone tight for money just now, and I've got a plan of making money. I was thinking about this. I'm going to put all my savings for retirement. I'm going to put it on a basketball game. Because I saw the Harlem Globetrotters are in Abbotsford and Vancouver. Now, I feel they're due a loss. So I haven't told Caitlin this yet, but I've put all the money on the opposition.
So is this more than your usual big, like, $10 bet?
Yeah, it's my whole life savings. It's $20.
And you're putting it on what are they called?
Whoever the Globetrotters are playing. I don't even know who they're playing.
Well, they always play. Don't they always play the same team? Is the Washington Senators or the... something, yeah.
I don't know.
They used to always play the same team, dude. They travel.
Oh, no. No wonder the bouquet took my money so easily. I thought they were playing the Raptors or something. I thought they're due. They're due,
yeah.
I just wanted to leave you with an email that we got from listener Richard Williams, a man after my own heart. No, yeah. He's not a grave robber. But a follow-up to my things you'd like to change in world football.
Yeah.
He's like, as I get older and crotchety, and this is Richard, not me. Could be me. This actually could have been written by me. I long for the day of a paper match ticket and a proper match programme. For the first few seasons in the MLS, the Whitecaps put out a programme which later morphed into a 4-page fold-out of the lineups and a mini profile of the match or a player. I've got them all in my collection upstairs. So my question is, has the match programme in North America gone the way of the dodo bird? Clubs may argue of the cost to produce and the waste and environmental effect, many discarded after the game, of which there were many. Personally, I would be prepared to pay a few bucks for a quality product. I would argue that most people who are paying for it are not going to bin it. As well, print a fixed amount to create demand. I understand that my mobile phone is now to serve as my match programme, but wondering what our thoughts are. Would something like a fanzine satisfy or quench his hunger for a lasting memento of the game? And it's very true. Whenever I go over to the UK to games, especially when I'm doing any ground hopping at non-league games, the first thing I do is track down where the programmes are on sale. And it's great to see it's alive, thriving in the lower leagues. And you have to produce a programme up to a certain step in the English pyramid. It's just part of the thing as well. But yeah, more and more of the big clubs are moving on to the digital thing and moving away from it. And as someone who's got a collection of football match tickets, gig match tickets, football programmes, I've got East Fife programmes from the late 50s. And I've got a full set pretty much up till a couple of years ago, where I suddenly had the realisation, if I don't move back to Scotland, how the fuck is Caitlin going to sell these East Fife programmes over here? Still a very valid concern, because they're worth money.
eBay. Huh?
Yeah, but then you've got to ship them back to Scotland. And could be in her 60s or 70s or hopefully 80s by that point if I've had a good life ahead of me. But yeah, what I would like, I'll put this out to the Whitecaps, because I've been pitching my ideas to the Whitecaps. Ice Peak, another idea that I pitched to Axel that we'll maybe discuss in the months to come. This is my other one for you. Bring out matchday programmes again. Charge money, limited amount, pay for it. I would definitely buy them. Because look what I've got here, Zach, in my box of tricks. It's the programme for the Whitecaps' first ever match, May 74, against San Jose.
Nice.
Collector's item. I'd like to see more to honour it this year as well. Get that done. And I know there's a small group of us.
I think someone gave me one from the first game at BC Place.
I'd be happy to be the programme editor. I'll even throw that out there to the club.
Yeah,
because I am pitching lots of ideas to them right now.
I think it would be. Wasn't it like those? Maybe not the first year, but didn't they do it on like extremely like biodegradable paper or something?
Yeah, I mean the first year at Empire, they had some fantastic thick programs. I've got them all in a box upstairs. Then they did transition to the fold out one, and now it's just it's gone. It's a dying art form, like much of the old days of football.
I have tons I need to sell.
Here's something else from my box of tricks that I've got. I've put a whole collection of things here to show you on the screen that no one else can see. There's the album of the month, James Stutter. Check that out. And I dug this back out again and was having a read. My Scorcher Annual from 1974.
Is that Bobby Charlton in short shorts?
It is Bobby Charlton and Billy's Boots cartoon strip. Scorcher Annual, it's full of like cartoon strips and some stories that we can maybe serialise, and yeah, great stuff. I miss those days. So does Richard. Let us know if you would like a match programme to return. TSS were doing them for a while as well. Pester all the clubs. Email. Bombard all the clubs with emails. We want programmes. We want programmes.
I think any way you can make matches like more special, the better. I think with the hope not to create a whole bunch of waste for the environment, right? All these clubs are being more cognizant of their footprint or whatever. I think you could strike the Whitecaps every year do a survey of all kinds of different things. Why not do a survey that says, hey, next year we're planning on putting out a match day program. It's going to be $5, $2, whatever. Please let us know if you're interested, because we're only planning on making limited quantities for those who want them. They're going to be available at this section starting at this time every game. We're doing it for 1 year. If they do this well or that well, we'll continue it next year. Like it's not rocket science. Now, it does take some time and energy, and like you said,
it takes a lot. And I'm sure Nathan is listening to this going, why does he keep giving us ideas that is going to give so much time that we just have not got to spend right now? Yes. But yeah, pester everyone, get the programs back. But that is it for this program. The audio variety. That could be the next thing. We'll be back with another episode soon. Until then, as always, thank you so much for listening. Happy New Year to everybody. Because it is our first show, officially, of 2024. And we will be back with another one very, very soon. Take care, and Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.